Welcome back. This is the From A to Z podcast. I'm your host, Pike Mukweni, and I'm excited for this one. I know I always say that, but today I'm really excited. I have somebody who's a former agency art director. A lot of people don't know that about him. He's currently one of SA's most memorable, most well-known comedians. He's also been in adverts for brands like CTM, Castle Lager, Bar One, and so many more. He also gave us some lockdown art theme pieces that had the country in a chokehold. So I am talking about none other than Donovan Goliath. Welcome, Donovan. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, bro. I'm gonna record that and just play it everywhere. I think I want to make that my ringtone. That was a nice intro. I appreciate it.
Dope. How did that fare to the comedy intros? You know how they hit you up, hailing all the way from Tebecha, yeah. Donovan Goliath.
From A to Z, it's plain to see. This podcast is about people in my industry. Writers, designers, social media managers. Don't forget the data miners.
Yo, dude, comedy intros are so hectic, bro. Guys get intense. It's always nice when you got a good MC, who really hypes you up and puts you up there and gets the crowd going. Because then you come in strong. Other homies are just yo, put your hands together for bam, go in. Quick story. Jason Goliath, my business partner, was telling me once he went to New York, right? And he performed at one of the clubs there. And New York is, I think, America in general, right? But more especially New York, LA, those kinds of places. Everybody's trying to be famous. And at the comedy club there, versus what we do here, we just hey, bruh, just hype me up and bring me on, There, you must read out a CV. They want to know what you've done. Because then they kind of gauge, the audience kind of goes, okay, no, Sharp, he's pretty good. Let's keep an eye on him. Let's listen intently, And this one guy came on and he told the MC, can you tell everybody that BuzzFeed wrote about me? I was featured in a BuzzFeed article. Oh. I was like, really? But that's how far they push it, bruh. Everybody's just trying to make it.
Might as well say in grade 11, I played first team rugby as well. Tell them that.
Exactly. On, I got bro. An A when I did Mondelin.
Right.
Damn.
Anyways, the name of the show is From A to Z, Donovan. Thank you so much for joining me once again. We're going to start right at the beginning. Your upbringing. We'll talk about how you found the ad world. We'll talk about how you kind of left the ad world. We'll talk about what's happening right now and the future. Are you ready to go from A to Z, Donovan?
Let's go, bro.
Let's do it. Please tell us a bit about your upbringing, eMthata.
Yeah. Born and raised eMthata. Grew up, I was born in 83, so I grew up in that era where advertising, design, social media, anything in the creative industry, that wasn't really a thing. There were no mentors, there were no influencers, there was nobody that you could speak to, to kind of guide you in that direction. And I've always been able to draw. I just grew up just knowing how to draw and just being fascinated by it, but never thought that I could turn it into something, never thought that it could become a career, So, I was that guy. People paid me to do their projects sometimes at school. They did,
Dope.
Sometimes just in lunch or a packet of chips.
That's enough, dude.
Yo, man.
Yeah.
At the time, that was gold,
Yeah.
So I did that. I then, when I was about 14, 15, I joined a rap group. I was a rapper, eMthata.
What was your rap name, Donovan?
Acid Rain.
Shoo.
Acid Rain. Yeah. We were a group called Outbreak. And that was just another form of expression for me, And then when I was in matric, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And we had a teacher, Jason Crane was his name. He was a substitute teacher who came through. And he just decided to start art as an extracurricular activity at our school as Ingis. So I was like, I'm in, let's do it. So we did art and ended up chatting to Jason quite a bit and told him, listen, man, I don't want to do accounting or any of these things. I like to draw. I like to cut pictures up and rearrange them and turn it into something else. That's what I like to do. So he goes, why don't you apply for graphic design? No idea what that was. So we go onto the internet at the time, still dial-up modem, so it took forever to load anything. So we're sitting there for hey, dude, I don't even know how long, going through portfolios. I'm like, what do you mean this is a job? People are doing this? Then he goes yeah, but who do you think is designing magazine layouts and all those ads and stuff? And I'm like, I've never thought about that before. You know. So I applied to PE Tech at the time.
Let's pause it right there. Let's pause it right there because we're going all the way from A to G right now. I want to talk a little bit about we're moving. I want to talk a bit about your home life. So I know you went to St. Joseph's Primary. We spoke a bit about your primary, and then what about your home life? From primary, were you that MJ in the house when there's a braai or a party, they say, "Hey, Donovan, come dance for the aunties and uncles. We'll give you $5." You were that kid,
yes. Yes, I'm the guy that opens the circle. Like, you know what it is? I like the idea of people responding to either me doing an impression, dancing, rapping, whatever. I'm down, bro. If you ask me to do it, I'm gonna do it. That was me. I was that guy at the time, you know. So, hey man, I even did religious oil paintings in matric. My Catholic priest at the time hired me to do some oil paintings that, you know, there's still one up to this day. It's like, been like 20 years now. Just outside of Qunu, there's a church there, and we put a big piece up, like huge. And I didn't know how to paint at the time, you know, I just kind of took it on and I just did it, you know. I learned as I was doing this massive painting. I ended up doing like 16 of them around KZN.
Jeez.
And a few of them are
getting paid as well.
Retreat us. Yes, which was a good thing because I used that money to pretty much get me through university. I mean, through Technicon, you know. But yeah, I definitely was that kid. Very, I guess, left field, very different, into not what everybody else was into, you know, just inspired by very weird things, which, you know, it's so interesting. You've actually just like put me on a path right now. Mm-hmm. When you think about it, because you never really sit down and think about that kind of stuff. But now, like, you throw this question at me, I'm like, damn, I was quite like, not strange, not an odd kid, but like odd to everybody else. That,
like you weren't eating worms in the corner, like.
No, not that kind of strange. You know, it's just like, bro, we don't care that I'm trying to find an example. So I used to like head cut posters. You know, like when you go to those. The homies who cut here on the side of the roads, they've got those painted signs, you know, say Gundalaba, those. And I'm like, man, that's so amazing that just this picture, the side profile of a face, you just need to go there and point at it, and the guy will know what you want, you know? And then you walk out with that cut. That's communication right there, you know? Simple, basic communication. And I found that stuff incredible, and everybody else was going, "What are you talking about, bro? That's weird." You know, I don't know why you think this is cool, but so difficult because I just think about it now. Like if I had somebody to kind of guide me, like when I was really young, you know, and you know, just practicing a lot more. I'm not treating this thing like it's a hobby. Like I wish I'd saved all my drawings. I wish I had, you know, entered competitions or, you know, sent them to SABC at the time, YoTV or something.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
that was every kid's dream, eh? Every kid's
exactly.
dream.
Yeah, and dude, Jam Alley. That was, I just wanted to be on Jam Alley. That's all I wanted to do.
Oh yeah, you do like opening circles, right? Yeah, you're right. You could have killed me.
Yeah, I just wanted to be on Jam Alley, you know? So, you know, at the time, without knowing it, I think I was just into any form of artistic expression. Doesn't matter what it is, you know? Like, I've got, I guess, a story to tell. I'm going to put it down, you know, either as rap lyrics, as a painting, as a drawing, whatever it is, you know, without realizing that, oh, this thing actually has a title and I could turn it into something. Yeah, so one of my biggest missions now, just to fast forward a bit and then we'll backtrack, is I really try and, I mean, I'd go back to PE Tech, you know, when I just moved to Joburg as often as I could when I was still in advertising, and just do free workshops with a lot of the students, you know, just as a way of giving back and getting people out of, I guess, the small town and not just conforming, like staying in PE and going to work at a local agency, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But if you really want to work on big things, big opportunities, you know, work on TV and like just really push yourself creatively, I think you need to move out to a Joburg, a Cape Town, or whatever it is. Excuse me. There's just a lot more opportunities there. And so I would do that kind of thing. And only because I wish I had somebody who could do that for me back then. You know. So yeah, that's that was pretty much me growing up.
Dope. What about some of your favorite ads that you can remember from your childhood? That's what I love asking creators. What are some of the most memorable ads to you while you were at St. Joseph's High, St. Joseph Primary and Zingisa High? In that period of your life, what was some of the dope standout ads for you?
Standard bank ATM ad where there are all these kids in this house, and this dad, he's sitting in the couch and he like kind of, he hears something, and he slowly walks to this bedroom and he sees these kids standing in a line, and these kids they're like facing this cupboard door, and then you hear this kid go like, I don't know, 50 rand please, 100 rand please, and money comes out. It's like a cupboard door with those slats, those slits in between, and money comes out. And then he opens the door and it's his son in there with his wallet giving these kids money. And I think it was the introduction of like ATMs or whatever it was, like the first ATM. That the elephants in the desert. You know that ad?
No.
The road is long. I'm old, bro.
Right? Hey, bro, I'm 29, man.
Oh, okay, no. Yeah, what was it for? I can't remember what it was for.
Wasn't Camel cigarettes? No, it wasn't that. No,
it wasn't cigarettes. I always remember that dog from the Dulux ads.
Yes,
that
100%.
Gray shaggy dog.
Yes, the fluffy shaggy one. Yes.
Yes. Molo Mhlobam. The Telkom ad is very strong. SABC one, the one that was banned, where the white people are in the hood, like where they completely switched roles. Oof.
Yeah.
Still to this day, that one. That one. Oh, yeah. Festus. You know Festus? He wrote that ad. He was still at Huntless Garris at the time. Yeah, that ad. Those kinds of things, when I think back about them. Oh, obviously, a lot of the Metro FM stuff. Bruh. I can't remember. Was I still in school when I'm sure I was out of school already when the Metro FM stuff came out. But it just felt like it was that long ago. But yeah, I think those are the ads that Mercedes beats the Benz. Remember that one?
Yes. I think it's the one where there's no, it's not the one where there's like a mouse running on the. I'm thinking of a different brand.
No, that's BMW.
BMW.
That's BMW.
Yeah.
And that was written by my former boss, Mike Chalette. Actually, he did that ad. Where the mouse is running on the steering wheel.
Yes. Yeah. Dope. Now let's move forward a little bit. You're at Zingisa High, matric is done, and you know that inside you, in order to make an impact and a change in your life, you have to leave your small town, right?
Yeah.
What happened?
Definitely.
What was the decision like there?
Well, I actually kind of, like sitting with Jason Crane and going through all the options. It was either East London or PE. To go and study graphic design. I don't know, like East London somehow fell through. Because, like you're from a small town, but I didn't want to go too far. Like you still do, especially because you're going to study something you don't even know here, so just in case it doesn't work out.
Can be right there.
Yeah, I chose PE. And probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, because that institution was just so perfect. I didn't study advertising. I just studied creativity. I did everything: photography, drawing, fine art, sculpture, you name it. That's what we did there. But it was exciting, nerve-wracking, obviously, but very exciting. I remember packing up and leaving for PE, sitting in the back of my father's Isuzu Paki, still drawing stuff in a book, because we had to submit a portfolio, and I was like, what? So now I'm like trying to I procrastinated quite a bit, and I took my time.
A man of culture, a procrastinator.
You see, yeah, I took my time. So now on the way there, I'm busy trying to put things together. Oh man, it was, when I think back, I think I've still got that book somewhere. Yeah, embarrassing, bruh. So embarrassing. When I look at it now, I'm like, I don't even know how I got in.
Jeez.
Maybe my personality got me through, but I looked at the caliber of work versus what everybody else was submitting. I was like, nah. In fact, wait, I didn't get in straight away. I had to do a bridging course at Russell Road in PE. to actually up my skills a little bit, which was also amazing. Like I learned a lot there at Russell Road, and then I got to go into PE Tech.
This is so dope, dude.
So
I feel like we are breaking down some stories that nobody even knows.
no, yeah, that's weird. Like you really like making me dig deep here, Russell Road College, bruh. Yo, I'll never forget having to, like we lived in Central in PE, having to work on projects. I mean, like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're still busy, like painting. Because now you're painting, you're waiting for something to dry a little bit, and then you're working on something else here because you're trying to put a portfolio together, and then going back, and finishing up where the paint has kind of dried, like crazy. But then my friend Lumkile, he then became an animator. He lives in Dubai now. 3 o'clock in the morning, bro, we're walking to a place called Rio Burger Hut to go and buy chips and a loaf of bread, because we're hungry now.
Hey, at least
We're
something's
not
gonna
gonna
sit
sleep.
there. Yeah, something's gonna sit on the
We're not
stomach.
gonna sleep. So yeah, we finished doing this stuff. No showering. We just wash our faces. We in the taxi, and we gone, bruh. To go and submit our work. Hectic, but learned a lot, man. Learned a lot. Been through it all, honestly. And we are here now.
The grind was real, man. The grind was
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
And then
Definitely. And you know what? Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh yeah, just like kind of touching on my first year, I mean, just the first 6 months, I wasn't that student who left home and got to tertiary and just started whiling out. I had no idea what course I was doing. There were like 100 and something, 120 students in first year, split up in different classes, and in order to get into second year, whatever you wanted to major in, so graphic design, illustration, blah blah blah, you had to prove yourself. So they were only choosing like I think 20 people or so to move in to like second and third year, and like it was very competitive, and I fell in love with design because in my first year I would spend every day in the library. When I had a free break or whatever, I was there in the library just learning, just trying to figure this thing out, trying to find a style, And another thing a lot of people don't know, I think where this all started for me was, I think my love for minimalism and wit, just visual puns, is an artist called Guy Ballou, who is an illustrator, French illustrator, who that's what he does, that's his work. He does these very simple visual puns, but beautiful. And it just resonated with me. Like, I didn't really understand it at the time, but it really resonated. Like, I love fine art, I can appreciate it, and that was one of my courses, but this is just a little bit more modern, I just loved how the simplicity of it. And that's what I learned, and inevitably that, became my style. I wasn't into the grunge look. I wasn't into the distorted, crazy, this, that. No. Keep it simple, keep it pure.
With a
I
punch.
guess it also goes back. Yeah, it goes back to those headcut posters I was talking about earlier on, just basic, very simple, but hella informative.
And you get the point, yeah.
Yes, because that kind of stuff started spilling over, I think, when I got into advertising. But, yo, dude, no, I spent days, weeks in that library, man. Especially in my first year, because I didn't want to disappoint my parents, obviously, and I didn't want to disappoint myself. I really wanted to make sure, make sure that, I chose the right thing, that I made the right decision here. And I'm also the kind of person who, if you throw me into something, I'm never just gonna give up. I'm gonna like push. Even if I'm gonna try my best to be the best at it. If not, I'm gonna try and get to as close to the best as possible. By finding quick ways. Like I'm like, oh, it takes 10 years to master this thing. Okay, sharp. I'm gonna try and figure out break down what the techniques are, and learn from the masters and who their mentors are, and figure out what the process is, and start working on that stuff, and not start from the beginning. I'm not going to start with the stick man, I want to just move on because I know this part a little bit. I want to move on and jump and skip a few steps, so that's what I was trying to do, is just take in as much knowledge as possible. So when I'm thrown with the task, I never panic. you know, when they throw it at me and now it's just an opportunity, I go, oh yeah, I've seen this kind of thing before, you know, now it's time to put it to practice. And at the time, I mean, there was no computers to reference things off of. We're going to the library, looking at books. So you need to know what you're going to look for, you know. And right now, like the internet for me, especially for creative people, can be a bit of a gift and a curse, because you type a keyword in, whatever you're looking for, logos, for example, and you get hit with millions of options. And you just kind of like close your eyes and you pick one, and that's the style you go for. And so often people don't know what they're looking for on the internet. They haven't really figured that part out on paper yet. And they just kind of let the internet figure it out for them, because it can, you know. Sometimes you just need to type in what's trendy. For me, that training of going to the library, making sure you know what you're looking for. You can't spend, you know, hours going through all of those, like thousands and thousands of books. No, that's not going to happen, right? You know what you're going for, and you find it, it embeds itself right here. So yeah, man, that was me back then.
Dope. Now moving into your arts director days, like a lot of people don't know. Like I said in the beginning, people don't know that you were actually an accomplished art director, Loerie winning, with this Ford ad that I didn't even know you created. This dope Ford ad with the zombie and a baby in the back of the car, which was actually written with your fellow comedian, Loiso Matinga. What is this thing about advertisers and stand up? Is there a connection there?
You know, okay, I'll start with advertising. So I didn't study advertising. This is a weird thing. Like, my journey into it was quite interesting. I'd won in my final year at PE Tech, I was asked to write a motivation. There was a company there, Boomtown. It was an advertising agency. They were going to sponsor one person to go with them to Design Indaba. Now, Design Indaba is expensive. The tickets, if you're a student, there's no way you're going to afford a ticket unless you've got a rich family. So I had to write a motivation on why I should be the one that goes. And I won it. It's like the first time I've ever won anything like major. You know, I won it. And they sent me to Design Indaba, which was just mind-blowing for me. Being in a room full of like-minded people, you know, in the industry, I was just like, what is going on? And that's where I got to see my boss, my former boss, Mike Shalit, speak. He was one of the speakers that year. Yo, dude. And I was just blown away by this dude, man. Because he showed a lot of the ads that I had seen. Metro FM, the Opel Corsa ads with Raj 1, Raj 2 were popular at the time. Cell C was launching, you know. So there were all of these ads that I'd seen, that I knew about, that this was the guy, you know. And I listened to him speak, and I was just so blown away by it. Anyway, I took down the agency, you know, he worked for, or he owned, and got back to PE and just emailed a portfolio through. I Googled them. I emailed a portfolio through to a former student, Nick van Rienen from PE Tech, who had moved to Network BBDO as an art director. And I emailed it to him, and then he forwarded that on to Julian Watt, who was the creative director. And Julian calls me, we chat, he sees my portfolio, he sees my resume. Not necessarily my resume, it's just like a basic CV, who I am. You know, he's like, oh, you're from eMthata, you got a weird name, Donovan David Goliath, you speak eXhosa, that's weird. You know, you sound like a very interesting dude, you know. So we chat. And he's like, yo, do you want to come for an interview? I'm like, no, I can't, man. I'm in PE. There's no way I can afford to come for an interview, you know. And eventually, you know, we come to a bit of a gentleman's agreement. And he goes, I like you. If you can make it to Joburg by like next year, Feb, you know, we'd like to take you on as an intern. Yeah, dude, I went and met Julian Watt for the first time in person at Network BBDO in Joburg. My first time in Joburg. I drove up here in a City Golf.
Sure.
With no aircon. And,
no power steering at that time.
No, bruh. You know, and a map. There was no GPS at the time. I had a map, a physical map, and I still have that map to this day. My father gave that map to me. And I started in advertising, you know, and it was an interesting journey for me because the thinking was very different to what I'd known. where I studied. I mean, I studied graphic design, and one would argue that it's kind of the same, but it's not. Here you're working with a brand, and it's very conceptual, and you're coming up with these snappy ideas to sell products, and then you're thrown into like, oh, you got to write this radio ad. But my account at the time, and I was proud of it back then for a few months. I used to do, people don't know this about me, but I used to design the forecourt posters at Total. Those specials at Total. Buy a lunch bar, and what? That was me. That was my work, bruh.
Nice.
I was doing that kind of stuff. And it was a nightmare of a client because she, whenever it was special days like Valentine's Day, she'd send a brief through, can we do like a Valentine's Day theme, but I don't want hearts or flowers and stuff. Then I'm like, okay. We don't have much to work with here. We're still selling lunch bar and jelly tots, And she's like, yeah, why don't you guys do creative work that could win us a Loerie for forecourt posters? Aye, we're going to win a Loerie for forecourt posters, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it was that kind of thing. But what a drama. And like in the beginning, like I say, I was proud that, this was my thing. But then after a while, I'm like, no, man.
You're not getting action, eh? You're not getting the action.
No, man. This is, I don't, like everybody else. I see everybody else, working on cool briefs, and they're going to shoot this and shoot that. Nah, I'm like sitting here working on these Total posters, and then like they print them out, and I'm busy checking things. No, man. Anyway, but you need that kind of thing. It really teaches you to, I think, respect the game, respect the industry, and learn. Because to be honest with you, after a while, like I knew when that brief was coming, and I started coming up with clever little ways to say Valentine's Day without using hearts and without doing this. So I started learning, how to do it. Like, as much as I hated working with that client, they actually put me onto something,
Yeah.
And it's difficult, because you're working for an above the line agency that's at the time was just killing it. Network was the place to be, man. And you're just trying to keep up every single day. So then in my first year, same thing, spending hours after work just figuring it out, trying to understand this advertising thing, because you don't want to fail, you don't want to lose your job, because you're also making such silly mistakes, at the time. Yes, you learned the programs in Technicon, but here they're using them on a whole new level, and it's quick, it's snappy. Like there's like actual time frames now. This is not, you don't have 2 days, bro. You've got 2 hours. Sometimes you got 30 minutes to try and fix this thing. And you can't just do a Shiga job here and there. You can't just take that logo and blow it up. If it's the low res thing, it's gonna pixelate and send it off. You're gonna get heat for that kind of thing. So you learn to just the basic things, like this. Like I say, an above the line agency is it's hectic pressure, because you're dealing with clients who are paying big budget. It's part like your contribution to a massive campaign, whatever that campaign is. Let's say you're working on a Chicken Lick or Metro FM, and all you're doing at the time for Metro FM Music Awards is designing the invite. That's your job. You must just design the invite. Everybody else is working on those other things. That invite is as important as the guy working on the TV ad, because it's a cohesive thing.
No small jobs.
There's no small jobs here. Everything is important, because we're trying to communicate one message. Like whatever the theme is or the overarching idea has to come through, in every single piece of communication here. So that's what I got to learn there. Excuse me. And do we step forward a little bit more now?
We will step forward into, let's step forward into getting the Ford brief, or was it proactive? How did you and Loiso come up with that idea, and what happened? And then let's touch on the Loerie win.
Strangely enough, that Ford ad was when we both left advertising. We wrote that ad as comedians. And I'll explain what happened there. Anyway, let me just talk about the advertising thing a little bit. I worked in advertising. It was amazing. Learned a lot. A lot of what I know now comes from, my bosses at the time. really putting me to the test. And eventually I started handling the Metro FM account. That was mine. So I'd worked on like 3 or 4 Metro FM Music Awards. I did the last Metro FM brand campaign. Those were big things, that I got to work on, which is incredible. But after a while, I just started feeling like I was on a bit of a conveyor belt, because things were starting to change in the industry. Clients weren't spending as much money on things anymore, and a lot of retail stuff was being pushed through, and I was like, hey, it's not feeling like fun. And I was unhealthy physically and mentally, because it was quite draining for me. And I had gone to a comedy show while still in advertising. This was like in 2010. My first comedy show that I went to watch.
Cool Runnings.
Never thought about. Yes.
In Melville.
And,
yes.
and that was my first performance. But my first comedy show was at Joburg Theatre, and somebody had bought tickets at the office and they couldn't go, so they asked who wanted, and I took them. And I went with a friend of mine, Liam. Liam Olding is also a copywriter at Network BBDO. And we went to watch this comedy show, and it's weird. I found myself not necessarily laughing, but just in awe of how these guys were throwing ideas out, and the audience was responding to like basic, simple thoughts, just like relatable topics. Yeah, and I was like, man, I think this is what I've been missing, because I've been writing down all of these thoughts as radio ads or as TV ads and giving it to a performer to execute. But I'm like, no, man, I want to own these ideas myself. Let me see if I can write a 5-minute set, which I did. Wrote a 5-minute set about my life, where I come from, my experiences growing up. I went to Cool Runnings, performed it, and it was incredible, for me. And the audience loved it. They laughed, which was great. I'm not blow smoke up my rear here and just say it was incredible. I mean, they laughed. And I just kept meeting a lot of other comics, and once again, just trying to figure this thing out. That was on the Sunday. On the Monday, I went to perform in another spot also in Melville called Wish. And then David Kibuka saw me perform there, and he invited me to go to the Blues Room in Sandton. I went there, just practicing 5 minutes, trying to figure it out, bro. Just trying to figure it out, still working in advertising. And then, I think it just got the better of me, because I found like a new world that really excited me. And I resigned from my job because I told myself, oh man, I'm freelance, and this is the weird thing about creative people. There's still so many people who are in advertising who want to leave, who I think, should kind of leave and do their own thing. But creative people are, when it comes to financial responsibility and handling your own tax and anything business related, you're like,
Yeah.
You'd rather slog it out and let somebody deal with that. I just want to come up with ideas,
Yep.
because it's tough, when you go out on your own and you're trying to like figure this thing out now, and try and run a business for yourself.
I mean, geez, there's medical aid, there's tax, there's taking care of yourself. It's all on you.
No, it's a lot, it really is a lot. And figuring out your rate, because you're kind of a nobody, I mean, when you're working for an agency, cool, that's great. But you're now out there, you're in the world, and you're trying to sell yourself. And, now you got to come up with a rate and justify that rate, So, yeah, there's all of those dynamics that I had to deal with. But fortunately, our MD at the time had also resigned, and he had won the Glowmail account, and we were rebranding. That snail gel stuff.
Yes,
that snail gel thing. Yeah, that thing was being rebranded. So Loiso Mating and I, actually, that was our first freelance job, because he resigned not long after me, and we got that job as our first. No, the first job we got was Mobicel. We worked on the Mobicel campaign, like in the beginning. We wrote some TV ads, which we shot, and it was great. It was amazing. And then we got the Glowmail campaign, and comedy was building on the side. That's where I met Jason and Nicholas Goliath as well. So we then started formulating Goliath and Goliath. And that Ford ad that you're speaking about, just to go to it, I was already maybe 3 or 4 years into comedy. And it's interesting how that thing came about because we got the brief, and this was the brief verbatim. Okay, we're going to put you and Loiso in this Ford, and yeah, you guys just do your funny thing, you know? What? That's not how it works.
That's the brief.
Yeah, that's not how this
What?
works. You don't just like go, okay, be funny now, you know, like we need some context here, you know, for this thing. And we said, no, man, we can't do that. So we turned it down at first. And then I met up with Loiso one day and I said, hey, listen, man, remember that Ford thing that came through? Let's think about this differently. Let's kind of do something that not a lot of people are doing. We're ad guys. We know how to write ads. We know how to write like funny stuff. How about we kind of rewrite the brief a little bit? We like switch it up. We change it up, what the direction that they want to go in, and we write the executions for what this brief would be. So I think we wrote like 10 ads, you know, just these mini skits, but 10 things that we would want to be in, that we would be proud to put out, you know, just let us be us in this thing, trust us. And we sold it, you know, that was on a Wednesday, I'll never forget. On the Saturday, we were shooting already. I think we shot 6 of them. Yeah, we shot
So
6
it got
of them.
greenlit like this. So it was one of those where the client sees it and they're like, yeah, go for it.
Let's
go for
go.
it. Yeah.
Let's go, you know, because they were also quite like basic. It wasn't like a heavy production, and we wanted to keep them quite loose as well, you know. We wanted to keep it quite loose, so it wasn't a big crew. It was very simple, and we very much like we really wanted to be involved in that from beginning to end, choosing the music, you know, making sure that we're hitting it at the right beats, because especially, I mean, so the zombie one won a Loerie, and there's I think our favorite one was the debit orders one, which a lot of people loved, where it's me coming out and I'm getting shot, but I'm holding my phone. But every time
Oh, yes.
I get a notification, a gunshot goes off, and Loiso's trying to figure out what's happening. He thinks there's a sniper. So that simple comic timing, you know, really started coming through. It was a wonderful a meeting of two great worlds, you know, comedy and I guess advertising.
Yeah.
You know, it really. Oh man, I wish we had an experience like that again. You know, because we honestly did have a lot of free reign, you know, to play around and do our thing. We wrote. I must actually find that document. We wrote so many, bruh. So many of those ads, like, and then presented like 10 of them. Yeah. And I think there were 3 out of those that were bangers, you know, that we were like, yeah, no, these are gonna live for some time. And yeah, fortunately the zombie one won something. We didn't even know that it was entered because we didn't enter it. You know, and I was hosting the Loeries that year. That's when I first started hosting the Loeries. So I was even more surprised when this happened. So yeah, that was dude. What a time, you know. And I think then already because Loiso and I would have a lot of discussions about if the comedy thing doesn't work out, would you go back into advertising? We were like, no, man, there must be other ways that we can, you know, flex creatively without having to, you know, be in an agency, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it worked out for us.
Dope. Loerie win in the bag. That's sick. And you were on stage. Was it genuinely a surprise? Like, oh, it's me.
You know what's weird though? So this is quite strange. I hosted, because that happened on the Saturday night, or was it the Sunday? Whichever one. I hosted the first night, and I was in the audience for the second night because for some strange reason they got John, and was it Lihle, to host the second night. So I was in the audience when that happened. I was like, whoa.
What?
This is wild. If I was on stage, best believe I would have gone wild that night.
Dope.
Yeah.
I want to talk a bit about. Is there any individuals who made a lasting impact on your career in advertising? Whether it was an art director or a fellow designer, somebody who, you know, gave you a pat on the shoulder, like, hey, you can, you know, transform this a little better this way, or something like that. Any memories like that?
Definitely. My mentor when I got there was Mariana O'Kelly. You know, probably one of the best art directors in the world. Yo, she was strict with me, bruh. Mariana made me mount her work when I just got there. But when she's standing over you while you're mounting the work, and she's like running her finger over it to make sure there's no bit sticking out. Yeah, I was like, no, this is intense, bruh. So Mariana, I think after about 2 years, she started giving me some slack, but I respected her training because once again, she made me respect my work. And I'll never forget the one time she said, you'd never serve sushi on a paper plate. You'd never serve expensive sushi on a paper plate. So why would you not take care of the work that you spend so much time creating and then just kind of slap it together, make it look nice? That's what people want to see, especially if you're going to enter it. And we're paying for this. So just put some pride into it.
Yeah.
Mariano Kelly was amazing. Brad Riley, Graham Jenner, those guys, and I'm still friends with Graham Jenner even now to this day. Just really taught me to have a bit of fun with it. Follow the rules, but like break the rules as well, so Graham Jenner was definitely instrumental, in my career. Who else was there? Yeah, dude, I must be honest with you. I learned from so many people. I'm that guy, like I'm a bit of a sponge that way. Like if you've got a particular skill that I really like and we kind of hit it off, I'm going to hang out with you for some time, to learn from the skill and really figure out like, wait, man, I need to understand how this works. So when I come up with an idea, I know the process and I know that I can come to you and learn from it. So a lot of them, Jenny Glover, also incredible copywriter, network video. There's a lot of them, bro. There's a lot of them. But I think if I'm gonna select one person, I'm gonna go with Mariana, because she was there from the beginning over me, making sure and not scared to say this idea is terrible. You can do better. But Mariana also the one to tell me that I'll never forget. She actually told me the one day. I think it was almost when I was about to leave, and she said, I feel like one day we're going to see you speak at Design Indaba. I was like, damn, that's such a big thing to say. And it stuck with me for a long time, because she saw something in me. And, I had a lecturer, if I'm going to talk about mentors right now, a lecturer at PE, Mary Duca, who basically said to me, I'm not going to write a motivation for you if you're trying to apply for a job in PE, because I don't want you to stay here. I want you to move, to Joburg or whatever it is, and go and find what's there, because I think you're bigger than what we have to offer here in PE. So I will always respect her for that. And then in comedy, David Gaubra. Nice. I was performing with Uskumba at Tembisa, and Uskumba invited David Gao to come through. Ndumiso Lindy saw me perform, and he invited me to, or I told him I'm going to be performing at this gig of Skumba's, so he told David Gao to come through. And I was like 6 months into comedy, and he then gave me a spot at Blacks Only. I did a 5-minute set at Blacks Only, which at the time that was a big deal, because that was the gig. And like a 5,000 strong audience, and this was me trying my thing out. Yo, dude, what a time, man.
Was this before or after the festival in Montreal? What is it? Just for laughs. Just for laughs.
Yeah,
okay.
No, that's way before. Okay. Montreal was like 4 years ago. No, longer than that. About 6 years ago. That was Montreal.
So, you've touched international stages and all of the biggest South African stages. What is the best thing about being on stage for you? What do you take from that?
The fact that people pay to laugh at your crazy thoughts. It still blows my mind, that there's this group of strangers who have paid money. They've dropped everything they were doing and given up their time to come there on that day, and they will give you your 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it is to share your stories, and they respond with that roar of laughter. Yo, dude, that feeling is unmatched. And then you get paid at the end of it.
Sure.
Comedy it's a weird thing to think about.
I want to talk about that, actually. That decision you made to actually full time, leave advertising, leave your nice salary, security, medical aid, and head for stand-up comedy, where in my mind it's spot per spot, you get paid per spot. That was a huge risk. How did you actually decide on that, and how did your people at home react to the decision?
You know, they've always been super supportive. I mean, even the decision to leave eMthata to go and study something very foreign, you know. There was a guy, family friend. I'll never forget this. In matric, I was studying for biology exam, and he came over. He was chatting to my dad, and he asked me, "Hey, man, what are you gonna study?" So I said, "Oh no, I'm gonna study graphic design." And he had a drink in his hand, and he almost spat it out.
You.
What's funny about that? The guy was cracking up, bruh, laughing
Sure.
and laughing. So I'm like, what's going on? Eventually, he calls my dad and he goes, "Hey man, don't you want to try and persuade him to go into something else?" So I'm like, "Aibo." And he's like, no, I guarantee you, in 4 years' time, he's going to be printing Mickey Mouse t-shirts at the flea market here down the road.
Roasted you, man. Damn.
I was like, just like that,
And you're young that time, huh? And you're actually young at that time. I mean, it will affect you, right?
You're questioning it now. And it bugged me for a while. And I was like, "Yo, this guy really said that."
Yo.
Yes, dude, it cut me deep, But they let me go for it because, yeah, like I say, bro, I throw myself into everything as much as I can, and I don't like to fail, So when I made the decision to leave and I spoke to them about it back home, they were just like, "Hey, do you think that you can make something out of this? Are you happy? We will support you if need be. Not financially, obviously, emotionally, we'll give you that support, but we'll cheer you on to just boost your confidence a little bit." And that's what they did, because I did tell them that I would freelance if the thing didn't work out. I definitely would freelance, but to be honest with you, I only freelanced for about 3 months before comedy really started kicking in, which is like amazing, because I really wanted to separate myself from the industry and just try something completely different. I wanted something that was going to make me feel afraid again, something very spontaneous, something that there was no formula as such. There wasn't a template that I'd have to stick to. There wasn't, "Oh, you must use these fonts. The logo must be placed here." I'm like, no, man. I just want a bit of freedom here to really put my ideas out without being told what to do, and without this line of people giving you direction and changing your ideas. And by the time it comes back to you, it's no longer yours, really, And that was my decision, and that's why I wanted to do it. And when a lot of people ask me how I could leave a great job in advertising and get into comedy, I always say, the transition wasn't that difficult, because it's still creativity at the end of the day. It's just the medium is different. This is just me putting those exact ideas and funny thoughts out, but on stage, and the reaction is just a little bit more immediate, So it was a perfect opportunity then and this is, we started Goliath and Goliath as a company, and I designed the logo and all the merch and the look and feel and the website. So I was still practicing a lot of those skills, which I still love and do to this day.
We'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah. But best decision I've ever made, and I don't encourage everybody to do it. It's difficult. And I think we found a great window, especially in comedy. Like, it's harder for young comedians right now to break through. It's so much harder because you must remember this was also an era before social media. Like Facebook was it was there, there was no Instagram, there was no Twitter, there was no WhatsApp. So people weren't sharing funny videos and memes and all of these things. So in comedy nowadays, that's what you're going up against. You're not just going up against other comedians. You're going up against
Instagrammers and
you're going
all
up against
of that.
funny
TikTokers,
creators on the internet, So it's very difficult excuse me, nowadays really break through and make a name for yourself, you got to be so fire and present everywhere, for anybody to recognize you. So I think it was a perfect time and a perfect window for us to really put ourselves out there. And I could never have done it without the help of my team, Jason, Nicholas, and Kate Goliath, because our differentiator was that, we started a comedy company. There weren't many going around at the time. We all have the same surname, but I'm not related to them. It's just pure coincidence.
What a coinkydink.
Yes. So that was a great story for media. So when we were doing interviews, whoa, what are you talking about? That was a nice thing for them to latch onto. Yeah, that was the transition, man.
Dope. Now, talking about what you've been getting up to in the last, I guess, year, you had this series of lockdown-inspired ads, or I like to call them art pieces, that had the country in a chokehold, my man. You had us in a chokehold. Every couple of days, you're dropping the bangers. And
Thank you.
I think my favorite is, what is it? Dishes and bananas. I think that's my favorite. But please tell us a bit about the creative process behind that. I know you work with your wife Davina on them. How do you shoot them? What's the process? And you just put them out. What's going through your head?
So, lockdown happens. We had a comedy club in Melville. We shut that comedy club down immediately because there's no way we're going to survive it. And we know that we're not going to be on stage for a very long time.
Ish.
So I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to figure something out here, Excuse me. I'm not the kind of person who can just sit and do nothing. I'm not gonna sit and binge Netflix shows all day. It's not gonna happen, I'm always working on something, doesn't matter what it is, coming up with an idea, tweaking this, tweaking that. I'm always, figuring something out. So Davina and I then decide, what, because she's a performer as well, she's a violinist, she's also not going to be performing. Like, this is going to be hard for us. So we just start creating interesting content, bringing our two worlds together. She plays the violin, I do this Jason Statham impersonation, and I'm like, the one theme we did was Jason Statham reciting fairy tales, and it's super violent, and like as Jason Statham would, with her playing the music in the background. Then it's me challenging Davina to play unconventional sounds on the violin, like movie soundtrack, these themes, boom, 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 boom. And
to the rap songs and the rap covers and stuff like that.
All of these things, very unconventional. And people are like, oh man, this is interesting. Because now we're sitting and going, oh, you know what? People at home, they need to be entertained. And we need to, as entertainers, we need to entertain and keep ourselves busy. You've got to keep that creative muscle strong,
Yeah.
And the one day, I'm in the shower. I come out the shower and I put my tracksuit on, mismatched socks, t-shirt, gown, slippers, because that was our trip, everybody was just like, whatever, man. Then I'm like, I say to her, isn't it weird that this is such a leveler? Like, we all just strip titles and strip all of those things away. We all like, this is us, bro. This is everybody now. We don't care, because nobody's going out, nobody's posting fancy pictures of themselves.
There's no drip right now.
Nothing, none of that.
Nope.
We're all the same. So I'm like, what happens if we shot ourselves wearing this stuff but juxtaposed it with like just the fashion label, for example? Bringing back, I guess, that vanity aspect of Instagram back, in this way, with something as relatable as this moment right now. We're all going through this thing. And so we shot the first one, which was the Chanel one, but I kept the CC logo, but then I just replaced it with the word COVID. And people loved it, And then when the president spoke, and he spoke about whatever it was, the next day, boom, on the timeline, that thing was there. When people started complaining that, hey, the dishes are piling up, people are making banana bread, bam, boom, here's an idea.
Dishes and banana.
There we go, So all of these little things now we're starting to play with. Then yeah, we ended up making like 26 of them. And I once shared the process on how those things were made, because somebody asked, like, yeah, how are you guys able to go to a studio and shoot this stuff? And I was like, you're a studio. We're shooting this stuff outside our kitchen, just on a wall outside our kitchen, on a phone, an iPhone 10, balanced on Davina's music stand, using a desk lamp for lighting, And then I then take the image, I deep etch it, and I created this infinity curve background to look like we're in studio. But I would reference fashion ads. So I would look at a Dolce and Gabbana ad, for example, and see how they shoot it. What's the lighting? Is it warm? Is it, do they put a little bit of noise on the image? Is it this? Is it that? And I try and match what we've done to that thing, so that the image does the work immediately, and the audience doesn't have to go, like your brain as a person viewing it. You don't have to work too hard to go, oh, well, this is a fashion ad, even though they're not dressed like it's fashion. The pose, the way it's been shot, the way the logo is placed, all of these things, they just like, they figure themselves out very quickly. So cheated the system a little bit, and that's how we were able to get them out that quickly, and I started actually on Twitter. I posted like the raw images, and I posted what our setup looked like, and people couldn't believe it. And I ended up doing a lot of talks with ad agencies, strangely enough, and I saw a lot of creative agencies and companies whose creative departments were feeling quite depressed and down, that they couldn't come up with anything. They weren't able to go and shoot. There were no photographers to work with, and the thing I said was, I think a lot of times we, as creative people, and this was me as well in the industry, we rely too much on tech to create good work. I was shooting this stuff on a cell phone, but when people looked at it, they thought it was like a professional thing.
Yeah.
I was just finding, if you zoom in and you looked at the detail, you'll notice that it's pixelated, and the deep etching isn't that smooth, but I give you just enough so that your eye doesn't see that. Unless you're a pro looking at the detail, then you'll find it. But the man on the street, not going to see that. So I was just like, I didn't make an excuse to not be creative, only because I had a phone. We buy cell phones, the latest cell phone, because it's got this camera and that capability, but we never really put them to the test. This was me putting it to the test hard now and seeing how much I can actually do with it, And, doing those talks was really, really interesting, and a lot of people kept saying, yeah, you're absolutely right. We come up with these big ideas, and then it's very easy to hand it over to a director or whatever. You go and figure out the treatment, you figure this out, you figure that out. And I was just like, hey man, as a creative, I can't call myself a creative person if I'm not going to find creative ways to make this thing work. And that's what I did. I just found simple creative ways to tell the story and put it together as quickly as possible. Dude, and those posters blew up, man. We ended up doing an interview with a TV station in Abu Dhabi. We were written about in like Turkish newspapers. For some strange reason, the Middle East loved that stuff. And we got so much work out of it.
Nice.
Is
this brand work?
Yeah, brand work. So brands then wanted to collaborate with us because we were showing up, last year.
Yeah.
We were present and they needed stuff to be done. It's going to sound very weird, and I always feel weird saying it. Last year, we made more than we've made in a year in our careers.
Sure.
Which was a very weird thing to say, because we really just kind of pivoted and found a whole different angle and started telling different stories. Online.
Yeah, it's because you didn't sit on your hands and be like, okay, well, lockdown, we can't do anything. I mean, creatives got to create. Me personally, as someone who works in advertising, you almost have to have a creative outlet other than your job, because like you said in the beginning, you're kind of taking in these briefs and it gets kind of like the same. You can even fall into a depression if you're not careful. That's why this creative outlet is super important. And you guys, you took your shot and it freaking worked, and it's made you money, like you said.
it worked. And the weird thing now is, this is a new industry for me because we're still not going to be on stage. I haven't been on stage since last year, Feb, right? Just to put it in perspective. Even when things did start opening up a little bit, I refused to go, because Davina got COVID, and I was just like, it's way too close to home right now, and I'm not going to risk it at all. We're good. We're nice here. And also, creating content and creative content is difficult on its own. So trying to balance this now and then go, I mean, just comedy on its own is very tough. Like, you got to really commit yourself to it. You can't be juggling other things and still do comedy. You're not really going to make it. You must focus on that thing. But this is a new kind of avenue that we found, and it's working out for both of us. And I feel like it's best of both worlds for me, where I left advertising to do comedy so I can have a little bit of freedom to do my thing, The lockdown happens, I can't be on stage anymore. Now I feel like I've brought my advertising background into the comedy, but I still have freedom to create and do what I want to do, So I'm really accessing all my touch points right now, everything that I've been taught, all the basics of putting a layout together very quickly, shooting very quickly, editing on my own. I do every single thing on my own. I don't outsource anything. I shoot, direct it, I write it, I perform in it, I edit it, I color grade it, I put it out, I write the caption, I do it all myself, And I'm proud to say that. And, I often just scroll down and I look back at all of that work and, we put out stuff. We put out a lot of stuff, and it was really amazing. And I was very happy doing it because I think I needed this outlet as well for myself. Comedy was also just starting to become quite for me personally, it was just becoming a bit am I growing fast enough? Do I want to be doing this, or do I actually want to be exploring other things? Because I'm an all-round creative, man. I like this. I want to shoot a short film, I want to shoot a music video, I want to work on clothing, I want to design a sneaker, I want to work on furniture. All of these things are in my long-term goals, and just committing to comedy was never going to get me there. Like I say, it's already such a tough thing, and so for us, I mean, personally, this was it worked out. It really did.
Dope. Now let's get into the next segment. It's called All Up in Your Business. All Up in Your Business.
Cheers,
I've been doing this show for a couple months now, and I still haven't came up with a better name, so that's what it is.
I like that though. All Up in Your Business.
All right, sweet. I'll keep it then. I went to your social media, Donovan, your Instagram, your Twitter, and I picked out a couple things that I want to talk about, right?
Sure.
I'm just going to show you the image. You tell me about what was going on, what was happening, and we can just discuss, just to see where you at. Right?
I like
First
that.
one.
This is nice.
Oh, yeah, dope. Oh, wait. First one, right? This is the most recent one. You got your COVID shot.
I did, man.
Please tell us a bit about the experience. And apparently, Sis Paul treated you quite well. Please tell us a bit about that.
Paul was so funny, man. Because I was sitting there, I had my arm out, as I got there, and I'm kind of flexing a little bit, and she said, "Hi, Suflexa, you must relax. It's not gonna go in properly." So she was amazing, but dude, what an emotional experience that was, man. I haven't felt that relieved in a while. It was just like a glimmer of hope, with everything that was happening in the country as well at the time. There, waiting in line. Kate, my manager, was there as well. She was about 30 minutes ahead of me, and I didn't think I would get it because it was already 2:00 in the afternoon, and I'm like, they're gonna run out. I just know it, And I sat, bruh. I sat in line, and the process was just amazing. It was super efficient, and they moved us here, and they moved us there, and we had to go and sign things, fill in forms. And we just what's weird is you you get moved to a section, then you sit for 20 minutes, then you get moved to another section. But as you're moving, you still can't see where the
You-
people are being vaccinated. It's still
Jeez.
paperwork, essentially.
It kind of looks like that's a line in '94 when people were first voting for
Yeah.
Mandela.
Yeah,
That line,
yeah.
those lines, you don't know where it
Yeah.
ends, but you know it's there.
So, and then eventually you get to this one spot and you look up at this board and it says vaccinations. And you go, whoa, I made it. But now still, there are like 30 or 40 people in front of you, and you're just like, somebody's going to come out and say, sorry, man. You call me, and then the lady goes, oh, you can just go there.
Nice.
System was waiting for you. I walked over and I said to System 4, do you mind if I take a picture? She's like, no, of course you can do it. I said, no, I'm going to take a selfie, but you must be in it as well. If you look closely at that, you can just see by my eyes, I'm actually smiling under my mask. Like it's genuine happiness.
Yeah, you could definitely see
System 4 is posing a little bit because the face is turned to the side. But, dude, I was like, oh, thank goodness, And my wife got hers that morning as well. I couldn't go because I was hosting an online gig for a company, and I was just like, she got hers quickly, And I was like, yeah, no, it's going to take a while before I get it. But yeah, that's what that is.
Dope. Moving on to the next one. Speaking of your lovely wife, this is a picture of your wedding day.
Yeah.
Please tell us a little bit about where did you meet Davina? Tell us a bit about Davina as well.
Met Davina at 6 in Melville. Jason, Goliath, and I had come back from a gig where we both died on stage, and we got paid. And we were just like, let's go and have some drinks, bro, because we need to drown our sorrows here because we died hard on stage. Like, died. The gig was just not set up for us at all. First of all, they set the microphone and the what do you call the thing? The receiver up. I mean, the cord was like 1.5 meters long, so we didn't really move too far. They set it up to the waiters. It was at a restaurant where the waiters are walking in and out. So guys are coming out in front of us the whole time, like looking at us. The people are talking. Somebody told us, hey, we must just keep quiet. Have a conversation. It was so harsh, man. Anyway, Jason knew Davina. He had met before, and she was there with her brother-in-law. They were just having a drink and then going back to the house because they lived just up the road. We hit it off and we started chatting. Her and I just started talking, and she told me the story of her grandfather who had 2 extra fingers. So he had one here and one here, right? And I was like, what are you saying? And she's like, yeah, and he only used those thumbs to open letters. Dude, you know how I laughed, bro. Do you know how hard I laughed when I heard that? I'm like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've heard today, and you've actually made my day. What do you mean? So she's like, that's what he does. That's the only use for them. So then I say to her, was your grandfather the one that came up with the term sharp? This is like 2 thumbs going up.
On to the third one. Now this one, I love self-depreciating jokes. I just love it. This one says 1 ply versus 2 ply. Donovan.
Yeah.
This is my type of joke right here. Please tell us about Mr. 1 ply Donovan. Apparently this was in 2008. What would you tell 1 ply Donovan?
Dude, first of all, what is this? That was me. I was still working at Network. That picture was taken at there's a pub, the Colony Arms.
Yes,
down the road.
in Bryanston. What's it?
No, just off of Jansmats.
Yes, there. Yeah, Craigo Park. Yes, I used to do a lot of drinking there. Don't worry.
That's where that picture was taken.
Dope.
That jacket was bought at Lesotho Land. That Portugal jacket.
Nice. Lesotho, Lesotho, what a place.
And a drunk purchase. I was like, yes, I'll take it. Like, why are you buying clothes at Lesotho Land if you only
why?
have drinks?
Supposed to be drinking caipirinhas only, not
exactly.
Not clothes.
But yeah, I looked at that. I'm like, what is this sporty, bro? Like, what does it look like I'm gonna rob somebody here tonight? This was a picture that was taken just before the person behind me lost their phone or their bag.
You.
That's what it looks like.
Number one suspect.
No, man. But it's interesting for me to see that transition, And the thing with social media, like what I like to do, I could easily have said something about a glow up, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, man. Let me see if I can find another way, like a fun, interesting way to say it,
Exactly. Yeah.
And I've always had this thing. I have this whole gag about toilet paper and the one-ply experience, buying one-ply toilet paper versus two-ply. Just the buying experience is very different. And you just need to look at one thing: is one-ply toilet paper doesn't have pictures of cute dogs or soft things. There's no dogs or rabbits or puppies or whatever, or babies, because they want you to see what you're going to get. You must see your demise here. They're not saying that this thing it's only functional. It serves a purpose. This thing, We're not talking about. Yeah, so that's why I came up with that, and that's exactly what those two pictures say. Yeah, that's where that picture comes from, man.
Dope. Now I want to talk about your dog who was barking in the background for a bit. Dog
Charlie,
with the
man.
drip, Mr. Charlie. Please tell us a bit about this picture. You got your dog wearing this dope sneakers. Talk to us about this picture, man.
Yeah, that picture was taken for. So I'm a Castle Light ambassador, and Batu had done a collab with Castle Light, at least the sneakers that we're wearing, that both of us are wearing there. So as a Castle Light ambassador, same thing, they put out a brief, you got to, put stuff out for the brand. And from the get-go, I told them, look, man, I don't like just to I don't put conventional stuff out. I don't do the whole vanity thing and, just pose nicely. And I don't do that, Me, I'm always trying to like tell a bit of a story and do something creative on the timeline. So I said, I'm going to do this thing where I'm standing with my dog Charlie, but I'm going to superimpose sneakers on him as well. So that's not real. That's photoshopped because I enjoy
Yeah,
Photoshop.
definitely. Yeah.
People think it's real. Let's not
I can
fool
imagine.
ourselves here. They do.
Yeah, hey.
So yeah, that's what I did, and they loved
Slick.
it. And it's just ridiculous. But I do that to, I have this thing where I kind of make the stuff that I would like to see, because if I could have just posted a normal picture of the shoes, but that's boring, man. Like how can I stop somebody in their tracks and make this a memorable and interesting experience for them there? Then so that's what it is.
Slick. Yeah, one or two more. Let's do one or two more.
Let's go. This is fun.
Sweet. You met Mr. For the family. on the set of a film. You met Mr. Vin Diesel on set of a film. Just tell us a bit about meeting Mr. For the family, Vin Diesel.
Hey, dude. You know what's weird now? So we get this email to say, hey, we want Jason and Donovan to cast for this new movie with Vin Diesel. So we're like, this is a prank. We're going to go and we're going to cast for this thing. Let's just look out for cameras because I don't feel like being pranked today. So we go for the casting. And they're like, oh, you guys are going to play two cops in this car. And we go, cool. So we play it out. That's on a Sunday. On the Monday, we get a call to say, oh, by the way, you got the role. Then we're like, we're going to wait until we get the tickets emailed to us because they were shooting in Cape Town. Other than that, this is definitely not real. There's no way that we're shooting a movie with Vin Diesel, and we're probably not even going to see him anyway. Hey, so we get the tickets, we're flying to Cape Town. Now we're like, oh, snap, this could be it, We get to Cape Town, and we get picked up by a chaperone, and he takes us to our hotel. We freshen up, and they pick us up early the next morning, and we go to set. I've been on sets, I've shot ads, I've seen some TV shoots happening in South Africa, but this is a Hollywood set, bro. This is massive,
Next level.
And we both get our own trailers.
Sure.
We each have a trailer with a bed and a shower and a toilet and
Yeah.
snacks. And we each have a handler, somebody who will run around for you, whatever you need, get it for you.
Nice.
We're like, what? Anyway, we're sitting in this van, this police van. We're waiting now. Could we just wait to get to set? Eventually, he gets to set. I'm in the passenger seat of this van. He's being briefed by the director, and he's leaning on this van right here next to me. When your brain goes, hey man, I'll never forget being excited to watch the first Fast and the Furious. Now the guy is standing right here with us. This is a big deal, bruh. Like, you can feel his presence on set. It's just like, what?
Staring is a real staring, huh?
Yeah, no, bruh, full on staring. And
yeah.
you know what's weird is, like that picture that we took, like he doesn't take pictures or selfies or whatever. Like, you can't just go up to him and say, yo, you take this pic. You gotta kind of, he decides when you're gonna take the pic. One of those vibes, So it's like, cool. And we took it quickly, and I was just like, you know what's gonna happen at this moment? We're gonna take this picture. It's either not gonna save or it's gonna be blurry or whatever. But we couldn't post that pic for like a year.
Sure.
Because they were in post production, so nobody even knew. When we did post that pic, the phone starts ringing, bruh. Everybody is like wanting to know about us being in. They thought, because they didn't know it was shot in Cape. They thought that it was in Hollywood. People were asking, "Is this the new Fast and the Furious?" No, it was just like wild, and we couldn't say anything. Like, we're given strict instructions on what we need to speak about if we get interviewed. But what a time, bruh. What a time being on a Hollywood set. Yay!
Slick. Last one. This is probably, I really want to know this as well. I really honestly want to know. What is it with people from the Eastern Cape and shamrock pies? Please, on this platform, please talk to us about what is the obsession.
There's nothing that tastes as good as a shamrock pie. Shamrock pies has been consistently filled up for the longest time. The meat pastry ratio is perfect. It's not like you go to one of these places and you buy a pie and you bite into it, and there's like a little bit of gravy there, soup, nje, and this is like, most of it is air. Shamrock pies, you're always gonna win, always, So I do not accept any shamrock pie slander anywhere because yes, Eastern Cape people we know what we're talking about. A shamrock pie and a troika pineapple. Dude. If you ever wanted to know, the closest thing you're going to get to heaven, honestly. If you wanted to know what that feeling is like inside, oh my gosh, that's all you need to have.
Dope. That's the end of All Up in Your Business. I hope it wasn't too bad.
No, it's dope. I enjoyed that. That was fun.
Sweet. One of my final questions is, Donovan, how do you stay grounded and stay hungry and stay grinding? Because, and stay humble. So stay so humble, because I'm just a guy on Twitter. I DM'd you, you responded, and a week or two later, we are here. We spent over an hour talking. Not everybody would do that, How do you stay grounded and stay humble?
But you know what, man? This is the one thing that comedy taught me, I think. You never know who's watching, You never know who's in the audience watching. And you really, really need to just respect everybody's time. And if somebody like you comes along and says, hey man, I've got this thing, I want to try it out, I don't have an excuse not to. Dude, we're in lockdown. I've got time, so let me give it a shot. And it's a topic that I love talking about. If we're going to talk creativity, I'll jump onto any talk when it comes to creativity, comedy. If you want to talk about those things, cool. If you had told me, yo man, I do this thing about Bitcoin or whatever trading, I'd be like, dog, not really my vibes, But this one, it gives me an opportunity to tell my story, and hopefully whoever listens to this learns something from it and is inspired by it, So these kinds of moments are opportunities for me to teach and learn as well, And that's, I guess, what keeps me going all the time is I never stop learning. I never stop wanting to learn. I love meeting people. I love new perspectives. I love being given an opportunity to tell my story, where I come from, what I do, how I do it, share my process, that's what fuels me. That's what makes me want to keep going. So my favorite comments, whenever I post anything online, yeah, it's nice when somebody says that was funny, but it's even better when somebody goes, "Oh man, you absolutely made my day with this, and I really appreciate the creativity or the detail or this or that, or could you please share with me that font that you used?" Like, that whole, like, that background I created for my posters.
Yeah.
On Twitter, I whenever somebody asked me, "Hey man, can I get this background?" So I'm like, "Yeah, cool. Send me your email address, I'll send it to you." Then more people started requesting. I think I sent it to like 20 people. I'm like,
Sure.
doesn't hurt me, to send it. Cool, go
Each
ahead.
one teach one.
Use it. That's what it's about. So yeah, that's it, man. I think that's it for me. And like, I've been toying around with the idea of a podcast or something where I want to chat to other young creative people, and I just never get around to doing it because I really enjoy speaking about the process. I really enjoy giving away, I guess, my secrets and my references. This is what I watch, listen to get inspired. Watch this, maybe you will too. That's it. Yeah.
You could literally put together like a short course on how to, content creation with your cell phone, literally
Yeah.
something like that. And that will get so much traction because, like you say, people are looking at these amazing pictures that you present and they're like, wow, there's so much that went into it. Guarantee the phone is sitting on a
Dude.
music stand, there's a lamp there. All it is your creativity and your know-how.
Yeah, and if I told you, like, I give myself a deadline on those things, 45 minutes max, from shooting to editing to putting it out. That's it. So I don't faff. I'm like, boom, just because I know what the image is before I press shoot. And you know where this comes from? It comes from when I was still studying. We were still shooting on film. This was before digital. So when you shoot on film, you've got limited shots, 24 or whatever it is. You can't waste them. You can't just and pick the best one. Every single one has to count. So I always force myself then to go, I need to know what the shot's going to be before I just click and I let the computer figure out what it's going to look like at the end. I don't like that process. I like to know, okay, sharp, this is how it needs to be. Then I figure out what lighting needs to be, and then I press shoot or record. That's it.
Dope.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know what you would say to a young Donovan at Saint Joseph's Primary. What would you say to this young Donovan years later?
Sure, dude. That's such a I never think about this question enough. What I would say to this young Donovan is just don't overthink it. Enjoy the ride, enjoy the opportunities that are being thrown at you. And my dad always used to tell me, be yourself. But it's such a cliche thing to say, be yourself. And it took me a very long time, like in my late 20s, before I realized what he meant and what it actually means. Authenticity and telling your story and your struggles and where you come from, and just, yeah, remaining humble and practicing as much gratitude as possible, and really not taking your skill and your talent and your gifts for granted. Because if we were to go all the way back, I mean, you see that picture, just pull that picture up again. So that's me in the middle there. Can you see me? So yeah, there.
I'm guessing.
Where?
I can't touch it without. I'm guessing
there.
That one.
Yeah, that's me,
that
the little
one, right?
guy, right? So there's me. Then on the far left, on that side, this side here. Well, shucks, this is weird. There, you see that guy there where you're tapping? That guy's name is Libo Mahlati. That guy was like my best friend in sub. This was sub A. Libo Mahlati could also draw, right? And he could draw better than me. He's an architect now, and he still draws. Yo, dude, that guy used to make me angry because he could draw so well. And we would compete in drawing Ninja Turtles. at the time, but his ones just had so much detail and movement that I was just like, I can't compete with this dude, you know. But we were still
How do you
best
do
friends,
it?
and we used to help each other out as much as we could, you know. So knowing we had that talent, if I could go back and speak to me back then, I'd just be like, yo man, harness this as much as possible. Enjoy it. There aren't many people who can do what you do, and just enjoy life and just tell as many stories as you can, whatever the medium is, because you're that guy. I think that's what I'd say.
Dope.
Yeah.
Dope. I hope we didn't answer my next question, but do you have any final words for the From A to Z listeners, or any aspiring creatives, art directors, writers, designers?
Look, I guess I did kind of answer the question a little bit. Yeah, dude, but what I've learned is try and create more than you consume. Switch off the tech for a while and just spend some time with your own thoughts, you know, and figure out what it is that you like to do. What is the thing that makes you happy first? And stop trying to create because you think it's what they're going to like. Just create what you like first, and then they'll come to you, because then that way you never start running out of stories, because every day something new happens. Like even now chatting to you, you know, there were things that you asked me was like, yo, I forgot about that, man. You know, and I'm like sitting here going, I could do something with, there are like 3 things here that I know that I'm going to turn into something based off of this conversation. And it goes back to that authenticity and digging deep and telling your own stories, because it's the most original you can possibly be, because nobody has lived through your experiences and listened to what you've listened to, watched what you've watched, been inspired by, laughed at, loved, hated what you have. So that's all ammo. If you can find a way to harness all of those things into a medium that you enjoy every single day, do that. But your most important weapon is consistency. It doesn't just come. Unfortunately, we live in a world, it's a microwave generation, where instant results and satisfaction and gratification in the form of likes and retweets start to mess with our heads and start to mess with how we judge our own work and our own thoughts. We must never lose sight of that. You know, that's why I say switching off for a bit and spending time with yourself and really figuring out what you like first and being content with that stuff is going to put you on a good path. Yeah.
Dope. I really think we might have taken it all the way from Ad to Z. We spoke about your upbringing. We spoke about finding Ad World. We spoke about losing Ad World and finding comedy, refinding Ad World.
Yeah.
We spoke about various things, just like your Shamrock Pies, your experiences in primary school, meeting your wife with a banger joke, which I guess got you on the hook.
Dude,
do you agree that we went from A to Z?
We absolutely. I think we surpassed. We've gotten into a different alphabet now. We like went add to Z and then started going into, like, I don't know. What's another alphabet?
The zeitgeist.
I don't know. You know, when you start using words like zeitgeist.
Hey. You're doing too much.
We're done.
No, but for real, I really appreciate your time, Donovan.
Thank
I wish you more success. You're a newly married man. Enjoy that. Enjoy the new family. I know you have a baby on the way.
Yeah.
More success, more luck, more life. Thank you so much for joining me
on
From Ad to Z.
Hola. Sharp, bro.
Away. Short.
From A to Z, it's plain to see. This podcast is about people in my industry. Writers, designers, social media managers. Don't forget the data miners. HRPR, find out who they are and how they made it this far. From A to Z, talk about your family. Talk about the goals you reach. Talk about the plans you see. Let's get it. Welcome aboard. I'm your host, PK Mugweni, and this is the From A to Z podcast.